There comes a moment in every life when a door closes, and no amount of knocking can make it open again. A moment when a familiar voice grows distant, a trusted hand slips away, or a relationship that once felt permanent quietly becomes part of yesterday. And in those moments, many of us ask the same question: why? Why did they leave? Why did it end? Why did God allow someone so important to walk out of our lives? But what if the question is not why they left? What if the question is, what is being prepared in the space they left behind? Sometimes we hold on to people long after the season meant for them has ended. We cling to memories, promises, and possibilities, believing that if we love harder, wait longer, or sacrifice more, things will return to what they once were. Yet life has a way of teaching us that not every connection is meant to last forever. Some people arrive to teach us. Some arrive to challenge us. Some arrive to reveal our strength. And some arrive only for a season. When God removes people from your life, it may feel like loss. It may feel like rejection. It may even feel like heartbreak. But not every removal is a punishment. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes God sees what we cannot see and knows what we are not yet ready to understand. The truth is that every empty chair is not a tragedy. Every goodbye is not a defeat. Every ending is not the end of your story. There are blessings that cannot enter a crowded room. There are new beginnings that cannot grow in soil occupied by what no longer belongs there. So today, if someone has walked away, if a relationship has ended, if a chapter has closed, despite your efforts to keep it open, hear this clearly. Let them go, not with bitterness, not with resentment, but with faith. Trust that what leaves your life at God's direction makes room for what is meant to find you. Trust that what is taken away may be clearing the path for something greater than you can currently imagine. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone who enters your life is meant to remain there forever. We often believe that if a relationship is meaningful, if the memories are precious, or if the bond feels deep enough, then it should last indefinitely. When someone leaves, we naturally interpret it as a loss, a failure, or even a punishment. We search for mistakes we may have made. We replay conversations in our minds. We wonder what could have been different. Yet there are moments when a person's departure has very little to do with failure and everything to do with divine direction. Life unfolds in seasons. Just as nature moves from spring to summer, from autumn to winter, relationships also move through seasons of purpose. Some people are present during a period of growth, helping us discover strengths we never knew we possessed. Others appear during moments of struggle, teaching lessons that shape our character. Their role may be significant, but significance does not always mean permanence. Sometimes a person completes their assignment in our lives, and when that purpose has been fulfilled, their departure becomes part of a larger plan that we cannot yet see. The challenge is that human beings crave certainty. We become attached to what is familiar. Even when a relationship is unhealthy, draining, or limiting, the comfort of familiarity can make it difficult to release. We would rather hold on to what we know than step into the uncertainty of what comes next. Yet growth rarely happens inside the boundaries of comfort. Growth often begins when something familiar is removed, forcing us to rely on faith rather than certainty. There are countless situations in which a departure later reveals itself as a blessing. A friendship ends, and years later you realize it was preventing you from becoming your authentic self. A relationship dissolves, and only afterward do you discover opportunities, peace, and personal growth that would never have emerged had you remained where you were. At the moment of separation, the pain feels overwhelming because you can only see what is being taken away. With time, however, you begin to recognize what is being made possible. Divine redirection does not always arrive wrapped in comfort. Often it arrives disguised as disappointment. A closed door can feel cruel when you desperately want it to open. A person walking away can feel like rejection when you wanted them to stay. But there is wisdom in recognizing that not every closed door is meant to be forced open. Not every departure is meant to be reversed. Sometimes the very thing you are trying to preserve is the thing standing between you and your next chapter. Faith requires believing that there is meaning beyond what is immediately visible. It requires trusting that there are movements taking place behind the scenes that you may not understand today. When someone leaves your life unexpectedly, it is natural to grieve. It is natural to feel sadness, confusion, and even anger. Yet alongside those emotions, there can also be trust. Trust that what is leaving is making room for what is coming. Trust that every ending carries the seed of a new beginning. Trust that a path can be redirected without being destroyed. Trust that removal and abandonment are not always the same thing. Trust that what appears to be a setback may actually be guidance leading you toward a future greater than the one you were trying to hold on to. Growth is often celebrated as a beautiful journey, but the reality is that growth can be uncomfortable, lonely, and deeply challenging. Most people imagine personal transformation as the addition of something new opportunities, new habits, new knowledge, or new relationships. What they rarely consider is that growth frequently begins with subtraction. Before something greater can enter your life, something else may need to leave. Before you can become the person you are meant to be, you may have to release people who no longer align with the direction your life is taking. As individuals evolve, their priorities change, their values deepen, their understanding of themselves becomes clearer. The person you are today is not the same person you were 5 years ago, and the person you will become 5 years from now will be different still. This natural evolution can create distance between you and people who once fit perfectly into your life. It does not necessarily mean they are bad people, nor does it mean the relationship lacked value. It simply means that you are traveling different roads. One of the most difficult lessons in life is realizing that loyalty should not require sacrificing your growth. Many people remain attached to relationships that continuously pull them backward because they fear being seen as selfish or ungrateful. They stay connected to negativity, manipulation, or constant discouragement because they feel responsible for maintaining the relationship at all costs. Yet, there is a difference between loyalty and limitation. Genuine relationships encourage progress. They celebrate growth rather than resist it. Sometimes the people around you become comfortable with an older version of you. They expect you to think the same way, act the same way, and remain within the boundaries they have always known. When you begin to dream bigger, set healthier boundaries, or pursue a different path, they may become uncomfortable. Some may criticize your decisions. Others may mock your ambitions or question your choices. Not because you are wrong, but because your growth challenges the expectations they have placed upon you. It is important to understand that not everyone who starts the journey with you is equipped to continue the journey with you. Some relationships thrive only within a particular season of life. When that season changes, the connection naturally weakens. Trying to force it to remain exactly as it was can create frustration for everyone involved. There is wisdom in recognizing when a relationship has reached its natural conclusion. Letting go does not always require conflict. It does not always involve dramatic arguments or painful confrontations. Sometimes it is simply a quiet acceptance that two lives are moving in different directions. You can appreciate the role someone played in your story while acknowledging that they are not meant to accompany you into the next chapter. Gratitude and release can exist together. Growth demands space. It demands emotional freedom, mental clarity, and the courage to embrace change. When relationships consistently drain your energy, undermine your confidence, or distract you from your purpose, they occupy space that could otherwise be used for development and renewal. Releasing such connections is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of stewardship over your own future. The path toward becoming your best self is rarely crowded. It often requires difficult choices, honest reflection, and the willingness to leave behind what no longer serves your highest good. The people who truly belong in your life will not fear your growth. They will not demand that you shrink to keep them comfortable. They will recognize your transformation and encourage you to continue moving forward. Even when the road ahead is uncertain, even when the distance between who you were and who you are becoming continues to widen, even when every step forward requires leaving another piece of the past behind, few experiences in life are as painful as an ending you did not want. Whether it is the loss of a friendship, the end of a relationship, or the departure of someone you deeply cared about, endings often arrive with a sense of heartbreak and confusion. They leave unanswered questions and emotional wounds that seem impossible to heal. In those moments, it can feel as though something valuable has been taken from you forever. Yet, time has a remarkable way of revealing what pain initially conceals. Many of life's greatest blessings begin disguised as endings. When a chapter closes, our attention naturally focuses on what has been lost. We think about the conversations we will no longer have, the plans that will never happen, and the future we once imagined. Our minds become attached to a version of life that no longer exists. Because we are grieving what was, we often fail to see what could be. The pain of an ending can be so loud that it drowns out the quiet possibilities waiting just beyond it. History is filled with stories of people who discovered unexpected opportunities only after facing significant losses. A career setback leads someone to pursue a passion they had ignored for years. A painful breakup creates space for self-discovery and emotional growth. The loss of one friendship opens the door to relationships that are healthier, deeper, and more supportive. In each case, the blessing was not visible at the moment of loss. It emerged gradually as life unfolded. One reason endings feel so devastating is because they force us into uncertainty. Human beings naturally prefer predictability. We like knowing who will be beside us, what tomorrow will look like, and how our future is taking shape. An ending disrupts that sense of stability. Suddenly, the path ahead becomes unclear. Yet uncertainty is often where transformation begins. When old structures collapse, new possibilities emerge. When familiar routines disappear, creativity and resilience are given room to grow. Pain also has a way of revealing strengths we did not know we possessed. During difficult seasons, people often discover courage, wisdom, patience, and faith that remained hidden during easier times. The very experience that seemed determined to break them becomes the experience that shapes them into stronger individuals. What initially felt like destruction becomes part of their foundation. There is a profound difference between an ending and a conclusion. An ending marks the close of one chapter, but it does not determine the entirety of your story. Too many people assume that because something meaningful has ended, their opportunity for happiness has ended as well. They mistake a temporary season of loss for a permanent reality. Yet life continues to move forward, bringing new experiences, new people, and new possibilities. Looking back, many people can identify moments they once considered disasters, but now view as turning points. What seemed unfair at the time ultimately guided them toward a better path. What felt like rejection redirected them towards something more suitable. What appeared to be a closed door protected them from circumstances that would have limited their future. This does not mean pain should be ignored or minimized. Grief is real. Disappointment is real. Heartbreak deserves acknowledgement. But alongside that pain, there can also be hope. Hope that the story is not over. Hope that something meaningful is still unfolding. Hope that behind every difficult ending lies the possibility of renewal, growth, and blessings that could never have arrived had the previous chapter remained open, had the familiar remained unchanged, had the door that needed to close never been allowed to shut. One of the greatest challenges people face is accepting that life does not always unfold according to their preferred schedule. We make plans, set expectations, and imagine how events should happen. We decide when opportunities should arrive, when relationships should flourish, and when problems should be resolved. Yet reality often moves at a different pace. There are seasons of waiting, seasons of uncertainty, and seasons when answers seem delayed. During those moments, frustration can easily take root. We begin to question why certain things are happening and why others are not. However, there is a profound sense of peace that emerges when we learn to trust that there is a timing greater than our own. Trusting God's timing does not mean understanding every event as it occurs. In fact, it often means accepting that complete understanding may not come immediately. There are situations where the purpose behind an experience becomes clear only years later. What once seemed like an unnecessary delay reveals itself as preparation. What felt like a missed opportunity turns out to be protection. What appeared to be a painful loss becomes the very thing that redirected life toward a better outcome. The difficulty lies in the fact that people naturally focus on the present moment. They see today's disappointment, but not tomorrow's opportunity. They experience current pain without seeing future growth. Because of this limited perspective, it is easy to interpret delays as denial and obstacles as signs that something has gone wrong. Yet, many of life's most valuable lessons are learned during periods when nothing seems to be moving forward. Waiting develops qualities that immediate success cannot teach. Patience is strengthened when circumstances require endurance. Faith deepens when there is no visible evidence that things are improving. Character matures when individuals continue moving forward despite uncertainty. These qualities often become the foundation for future blessings. Without them, people may receive what they desire, but lack the wisdom necessary to handle it well. Relationships often provide a powerful example of this principle. When someone leaves your life, the immediate reaction may be sadness or confusion. You may wonder why the connection could not continue. You may feel tempted to force the relationship back into existence. Yet, forcing what is meant to leave often creates greater pain. Trusting God's timing means believing that if someone is truly meant to remain, there will be a path for that relationship to flourish naturally. If not, their departure may be creating space for something healthier and more aligned with your future. Peace does not come from controlling every outcome. It comes from releasing the burden of control. Many people exhaust themselves trying to manage circumstances beyond their influence. They replay past events, worry about future possibilities, and carry responsibilities that were never theirs to carry. The more tightly they hold on, the more anxiety they experience. Peace begins when they recognize that not everything depends on their effort alone. Trust is not passive. It does not mean giving up or refusing to take action. It means doing what you can while accepting that some things are beyond your ability to control. It means continuing to move forward even when the destination is unclear. It means believing that delays are not always obstacles and that unanswered questions are not necessarily signs of abandonment. When life changes unexpectedly, when people come and go, and when plans unfold differently than expected, trusting God's timing allows the heart to remain steady. It creates the confidence that every season has a purpose, every delay carries a lesson, and every transition is part of a larger story that is still being written, a story whose meaning often becomes visible only after the waiting has ended, and the path behind you finally reveals why every step occurred exactly when it did. Letting go is often misunderstood as weakness, surrender, or defeat. Many people believe that releasing someone from their life means giving up on them or admitting failure. Because of this belief, they hold on tightly to relationships, memories, and situations long after those things have stopped contributing positively to their lives. They convince themselves that persistence is always a virtue and that walking away is always a mistake. Yet, there are moments when the strongest thing a person can do is let go. Not because they no longer care, but because they understand that healing, wisdom, and new opportunities cannot fully enter a life that is crowded by what no longer belongs there. Every person carries emotional weight. Some of it comes from past disappointments, unresolved conflicts, broken relationships, and expectations that were never fulfilled. When these burdens accumulate, they consume mental and emotional energy. They occupy space that could otherwise be used for growth and renewal. Holding on to what should be released often keeps people tied to a version of life that no longer exists. They remain focused on what was lost rather than what can still be gained. Healing begins when a person accepts reality instead of fighting against it. Acceptance does not mean approval. It does not mean pretending that pain never existed. It simply means recognizing that what happened cannot be changed and choosing to move forward anyway. This decision creates room for emotional recovery. Instead of investing energy into trying to recreate the past, a person can begin investing energy into building a healthier future. As healing takes place, wisdom often follows. Painful experiences have a unique way of teaching lessons that comfort rarely provides. Through loss, people learn the importance of boundaries. Through disappointment, they learn discernment. Through heartbreak, they gain a deeper understanding of themselves and of the qualities they truly value in others. These lessons become valuable guides for future decisions. Without release, however, these lessons can remain hidden beneath resentment and regret. Letting go also opens the door to opportunities that could not have been recognized before. When attention is consumed by what has ended, it becomes difficult to notice what is beginning. New friendships, meaningful connections, personal achievements, and unexpected blessings often arrive quietly. They require emotional availability. They require a willingness to embrace possibilities that differ from previous expectations. A closed hand cannot receive something new because it is already full. In the same way, a heart that refuses to release the past may struggle to embrace the future. Many people discover that the opportunities they eventually cherish most appeared only after they released something they once thought they could never live without. What initially felt like a devastating loss eventually became the catalyst for remarkable growth. The departure of one person led them to discover greater confidence. The end of one chapter inspired them to pursue dreams they had postponed for years. The closing of one door revealed pathways they had never considered. Life is constantly moving forward. Seasons change, circumstances evolve, and people grow. Trying to hold on to everything forever creates resistance against a process that is both natural and necessary. The purpose of letting go is not to erase memories or deny the value of what once existed. The purpose is to make space. Space for healing where there was once hurt. Space for wisdom where there was once confusion. Space for opportunity where there was once limitation. Space for new blessings to enter a life that has finally become ready to receive them, ready to recognize them, and ready to move confidently into a future no longer defined by what had to be left behind.